Aloha from Kilipohe, Keikani Aloha. Well, I've got my chipper on the bench today. This is my Brushmaster Beast, 3.5 by 5 chipper shredder, 457cc engine. Works great, but you know, chippers take quite a beating. And this one's no exception. It's the chute here, where the chipped material comes out, was kind of undersized. When I got it, it was made of plastic, so I got rid of that and I added a different one. I'll show you that in a minute. Some other things went wrong with it. I got it secondhand. I only paid $700 for it, but you know, it does what I want it to do, which is create a lot of compost. But this is the chute that I made to replace that other one. Actually, I think this is the second one that goes in there somewhere. And it's the lid from a 55-gallon barrel, and I welded it up. And the first one did the same thing. I don't know, maybe this steel is real brittle or something, but you can see it's just cracked like crazy. It's not very thick. But rather than spend, you know, a bunch of money on steel, like 16 gauge or whatever, to make a nice chute, I just used that because that's what I had on hand. I didn't have to drive into town to get the steel, and I have to pay for the steel mostly because steel is expensive these days. So I'm going to make a new one, and I went over to talk to my neighbor about something else, and he gave me the tops from a couple of barrels that we cut out, he and I, for his trommel. I think the difference this time is I have some 1/8-inch flat bar, 8x1, or 1/8 inch by 1. I'm going to make a box to go in here, and then I'll weld the chute onto that box, and hopefully that'll give it a little bit better support. So I'll put you in a tripod, I'll get a table set up, and we'll start making that box. All right, well, I guess the first step is get this steel cleaned up. I use these, they're like really heavy-duty Scotch-Brite pads. They call them surface prep pads. It's got an abrasive and a nylon matrix, and they work really well for this kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's, you know, that's better. Knocked most of the rust off. I think there's some rust left in the pits in a few places. Just gonna lay this guy in here. Just make a mark. It doesn't have to fit super tight, at least front to back. I do want it to fit pretty close side to side. So what I'm going to do here is I made a little mark, and I'm just going to score that with the angle grinder, the cutoff wheel, to give it a bend. That's right. Let's just break it. Okay, just gonna put a couple of tacks on that like that. Yeah, so that's not too bad. Mark this spot here. I think that's in the right spot. I'm just gonna use a clamp. Okay, so it's not exactly square, but I'm just going to tap it a little bit with the hammer here. Square it up a little better. Let's see how that works. Yeah, I mean, it fits down there. That's good. Maybe adjust these guys out a little bit. You know, it doesn't have to seal up because the motion of the material as it comes out of here, it's all blowing straight up. So as long as there's a good overlap around this edge, that'll work just fine. So I'm going to cut that little bit off and weld up the rest of these joints. Try to do a better job of that. Remember how I was talking about rusty metal? Well, this is inside the shop. This is from being in the shop, all of this rust. I cleaned this spot off so I can work on it, but I mean, I try not to buy material in advance if I can avoid it, because man, it just rusts like crazy. Use it. Yeah, so, you know, they're good farm kind welds. Hawaiian kind, okay. right, so yeah, there's the holes drilled. The outsides aren't really, there's no burrs on there, but I'm going to use this surface prep to take the burrs off the inside. If I can get it in there. The next thing is these lids. And I want them to have that kind of the same profile that the other guys did, where it just kind of comes out and then, you know, maybe a third of a circle, because basically the material comes out of the chipper, hits this thing, and then gets deflected into the pile. Okay, I've got the plasma cutter set for 15 amps. This is a pilot arc plasma cutter, so it'll have an arc right away. Okay, yeah, 15 amps is plenty. Cut that just fine. Move this guy over. Okay, well, so I want the angle to be the same between the two. In order to get the angle the same, I'm just going to measure this perimeter value here. You know what, I think I could just do it from the corner. We'll say, yeah, we'll say 16 and a half inches. If it seems like your plasma cutter is not cutting, and you have a pilot arc plasma cutter, check to make sure the ground is on. Yeah, just check that against the other one, and yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so I've got the guys clamped together here. The welder's set for 22 gauge, which is probably pretty close to 20 gauge. How those body guys stand doing this zip, 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 zip stuff all day. Just don't get it. When I weld them on this, I'm going to weld it because I don't want to drill into this guy again, so I'm just going to weld to the top part of that. Yeah, actually I think I will go ahead and tack that to that. Just what I found, at least with some of these, sometimes when you do these thin metal to thicker metal welds like this, if you set the welder for the thinner metal and then, you know, weld, or a little bit higher actually, weld, you know, mostly on this one and just kind of lick onto that thinner metal, you can kind of move along. So I'm still set for 22 gauge on the welder. Yeah, I think I can go along like that. Going to be stuck for sure. I'm going to weld my vice grips to the workpiece. I've done that before. Yeah, this is going to be a fun weld. An outside corner sheet metal weld. There's no material, no extra material. Let's let her rip. Yep, burnt through it. Burnt right through it. But I'm hoping now, you know, I can bring these in a little bit and get a little bit more material on the top side of this, so I can have more to melt. Right? You can see where I burned through right there, and so I'll have to fix that. But yeah. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and zip that in, backside. Okay, Isaac I am not, but it's stuck. Let's weld this baby up. I think if I can do that, I don't know if you can see that little lip right there. It's a little toasty, but if I can do that all the way around, I'll be better off. It's going to take a while, one way or another, to weld that, but at least this way it might be a little bit better. I'm going to see if I can plug up this hole first. Oopsie. Burn through. Okay, well that's it tacked. Now I just want to weld out both sides, which is going to be a chore. Yeah, I don't know if you can really see, but I am melting that edge away in some of these spots. It's kind of why I, wanted that lip like that. I'm gonna, grind this a little bit, but I am not gonna make it pretty. I just want it to be together so it doesn't come apart. Okay, well, I think that's that one side. I don't see any light coming through. It's not body work. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, I can see the mounting holes there, and I can see them there too. Cool. All right, well, put some paint on it. I'm just going to put some rusty metal primer on it. I didn't even paint the other one. The paint that was on it was just the paint that was on the barrel. And I think this one's going to need a little bit more. But, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, well, there's the finished product. Look at that paint job. Isn't that nice? I had some white flat spray paint, so I just spray painted the inside of it a little bit. Lame, I know, but, I store this thing in the shed, so it's not really going to get rusty, although it does kind of get a little dirty. The inside of the chipper is pretty dirty right now because the other day when the chute failed, I didn't clean it out. Normally I run a bunch of water in it. I'll save a couple of big logs and run those through because the wood chips tend to scrub out the inside, but this time I had done a papaya tree, and those things, they have a lot of water in them, so it got all stuck on the inside. Anyway, it needs to be cleaned out. So what I'm going to do now is put it together and set it up, and we'll run it. I'll get a couple of trees and we'll chip those and see how that goes. Alrighty, well, I got a Vivy here, a couple of Vivy actually. I wanted to pull out, there's a spot over here where I pulled this one out, but it's super muddy right here right now. And yeah, so I'm not going to be able to pull the rest of those out without tearing this up too much. You can see the tractor tires already are covered. So this log-ish right here, it would go through the chipper. It's about 3.5 inches in diameter. Yeah, there's a better view of the mud on the tires, tractor tires. But I use those for smoking meat too, so I'll put that up in the top of the carport and it'll dry, and then I can use it for smoking. What I like to do when I'm running this chipper, because you know it draws a lot of air in through this leaf catch or leaf shredder thing, so I block it off with this piece of plastic. Fits in there real good, and that just kind of reduces the amount of blow that the thing has, because it'll blow all the material that you're chipping out into the yard if you don't block that off. And then the other thing I like to do is kind of dig up in this this area right here, right where the chute goes, and that'll kind of help keep the material from getting blown around too much. There's a lot of solid stuff in there. Whew, man, this thing is hot. Let me see. I'm going to go get the thermometer. I want to see what this is. So up here at the top, there's 120. It's screaming through 120, 130. Going to go past 140. Yeah, so 145, 150. And I just did this. I just chipped this the other day. In the outside, it's more like 130. But yeah, right in the middle, 145, 150. Maybe over 150 once it settles out. But I'm not going to wait for that. It takes a few minutes for this cheap thermometer to get to whatever temperature it is. Okay, well, so I'm going to fire it up and run these through. The plan is to run, you know, any of the leafy material through first. It'll clean up a little bit, clean up the chipper, I mean, a little bit, and then I'll do the bigger stuff, the logs and the roots, and then that way it'll kind of blast that leftover gunk out of the inside of it. And that's how I like to leave it. I'll run some water through it too when I get done with all the material I had to do. This isn't as much as I would normally do. I mean, I would normally have like 3 or 4 cartfuls of trees and bushes and different stuff to run through, but it's just too wet today to pull those out. I wanted to pull out all of that stuff over there, but I didn't do it. So, okay, once this thing gets fired up, there won't be any more talking, so let's get to it. Yeah, so there at the end, I just I closed the fuel valve and let it run out of fuel in the carburetor, so it doesn't sit with fuel in it. So I'm sure you saw there at the end, I sprayed it with some fluid film, and I don't know if you can see in there, but it's cleaner, and it's got a coating of it's been washed off, and it's got a coating of fluid film on it. You can see the wood chips. I mean, that's the Vive, and that's fine. I mean, it won't break down as much as the other stuff will, but I get an awful lot of green material out of the autograph trees. Not so much out of the Vive, but there's a lot of wood chips. And boy, the Vive, when you chip those things, they just, it cleans the thing out. It's like a little roto-rooter. But yeah, I want to go until this pile is, you know, about like that, about 6 feet tall. And then we'll start making this the maturing compost. The other maturing compost is just kind of sitting there waiting to finish cooking. And anyway, that's it for the Bushmaster 457cc chipper shredder chute repair. Aloha.